do me a favor, if you will. If you have this workbook, this Disciples Journal, if you have this workbook, take a look at this section on encouragement and look at the last 4 questions there. The last 4 questions on the topic of encouragement. What do you see? I see something that I didn't expect. I really didn't. What I see here are questions that talk about patience. Like number 4 or 14, for example, it says, do patient people bother me? Or number 16, has my impatience caused me to be unpopular? The last 4 questions have us consider patience, and perhaps like me, you're sitting here thinking to yourself, what does patience have to do with encouragement? Why should I be thinking about my patience? Now, I'm not losing my patience about the questions, but are you as confused as I am? Why does patience intersect with encouragement? Well, let's talk about that today on our edition of Transforming the World. My name is Pastor Greg, and I'll be back in a moment. You know, many of the characteristics that we examined in this study are interrelated. In this particular instance, when we are a patient person, we tend to avoid criticism. When you and I are a patient person, we tend to be encouraging instead of critical. Impatience. Impatience causes us to say things like, why are you so slow? Or, why can't you do it right the first time? Or, maybe you've heard this, I already told you this. Why can't you remember the things that I tell you? We are impatient. When we are impatient, we want things to happen according to our timing and our expectations. That's the sign of an impatient person. Things are not happening as we had imagined, or things are not happening the way that we want them to happen. The impatient person is often trying to control others, not encourage them. I think we know this. So if you're struggling to be an encouragement to others, it might be related to a lack of patience on your part. And I'm trying to tell you this, but also to be an encouragement. If you find yourself struggling with being an encouragement, you might want to spend some time asking the Lord to reveal whether or not you're an impatient person. Because in order to develop an encouraging spirit, you might need to first address the impatience in your heart. I mean, let's be honest here. Impatience leaves little room for learning. Impatience with others makes us want them to learn something yesterday, doesn't it? So naturally, we don't encourage. We criticize because things are not happening soon enough. This has always been a problem, even in the church, even among Christians, this lack of patience or criticism of others. Paul says in Ephesians 4:2 that we always must be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of our love. That's a matter of fact. You and I must develop this attitude of patience. We must make allowances for one another. And I think when that attitude is present in our heart, instead of being critical, we can be an encourager. Paul also tells us through through Timothy, he tells us that a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be kind to everyone, be able to teach, and be patient with difficult people. 2 Timothy 2:24. I will tell you this, it is far easier to be an encourager when we have patience in our hearts. Patience is not an easy trait to learn. I'll get that. I still struggle with patience in my life. But I also recognize that impatience is a hindrance to being an encourager. And if I have my mind set on being an encourager, if I wake up this morning in the morning and say, who can I encourage today? I'm probably going to have to practice patience with that person in order to be an encourager. So I think that's why these 4 questions are included in this section. The Disciples' Journal wants us to examine our hearts. Are we patient with difficult people? If not, you need to address that problem. We need to address that problem first if we want to become an encouragement to those around us. All right, that is the Christian characteristic of encouragement. Some interesting questions, and I think some interesting lessons. For me, the most important lesson I think I learned in this study this week was that encouragement is an attitude that we can learn, that we can develop. At least for me it was. I'm not sure what was the most relevant study for you, but for me it was. So I can learn to be an encourager by first giving instead of expecting something in return. I take the first step of being an encourager. Okay, we're going to come back again next week, and on Monday we'll examine a whole different Christian characteristic. I appreciate you spending time with me this week on Transforming the World. My name is Pastor Greg, and I hope you have a blessed weekend.